Sam's Bulldog here for a brief follow-up video on my newly discovered friend Michael Brooks of the Majority Report with Sam Seder. He's a co-host, as I said. This guy is, forgive me, possibly the most confused person I've seen publicly. I'm starting to think that he's not capable of understanding or responding to intelligently discussions worth hearing, at least in principle, open discussion. He seems intent on shutting it down. That's what's interesting about this. This guy is so confused, I'm not going to bother with him anymore, and I'm going to show you why. In my initial video, he denigrated the ideas, the science, the book, the conclusions of the book, his motivations, his funding, his backstory. I can't verify all those details. That's not my interest. But I do think I have an understanding of Charles Murray's synopsis in the bell curve. And that is that 60 to 80% of who you are, i.e., what you end up doing in life, is determined by your DNA and therefore unalterable till we can manage our DNAs like our inboxes. This is where we are. So he called him, again, Michael Brooks called Murray a scumbag. He called Sam Harris an atheist shill who's giving a platform to a Nazi. What I'm trying to get at is Michael Brooks couldn't find anything nice to say about Sam Harris and Charles Murray. Here's where the fun begins. I listened to yesterday's podcast where I tried to get on for 3 hours and likely had a technical issue. And listen to what I hear.
You think about Gorka, Bannon,
yes,
our buddy,
dude, Stephen Miller, the
Fivehead,
the guy who used to be who had the most closely profiled, like, no doubt if he had lower SAT scores would have been a school shooter. Yeah. Not because people have low SAT. I'm not going to stop saying it. He has the
saying it, and it's a little bit like
Stephen Miller looks, sounds, and acts like a school shooter. 100%.
I know,
exactly.
I know, but it's like, how many times could we? Oh, I know.
Many more times.
Look, I know that I'm the joy killer,
drawing
but
more
how
attention
many
to it.
times can we laugh at school shootings? Only like 10 or something.
I don't think I'm laughing at school shootings. I think I'm laughing at the fact that the designer of the travel ban, and a prominent spokesperson for Donald Trump, looks, acts, and sounds like a school shooter. That's what I'm joking about. That's actually really disturbing.
And he dumped his best friend.
All right, so you guys heard that. In fact, we all heard that yesterday. If we listened to the Majority Report with Sam Seder. Now, if you listen closely, you'll see that Michael Brooks has actually made progress of a kind, in that he was able to concisely form an analogy to the bell curve. In fact, I've listened only to several hours of him. I just discovered this so-called host, and he so I'm not familiar with his full body of work. But the day, 4 days after calling Charles Murray a scumbag and a bigot and so on, he's making Charles Murray's point. Okay? I'm sorry to say, Michael Brooks, that IQ test is very highly correlated with outcomes in the world, social outcomes that we care about. Okay? You demonstrate your belief in that by saying if Gorka was any stupider, he'd be a school shooter. That is making a direct connection between intelligence and violence. You are so-called guilty of the same analogy, the same philosophy as your so-called scumbag, bigot, cross-burner. Again, that's Murray. Do you even realize that? Do you know how bad you are at what you do? Do you know that you add nothing and you say the exact opposite thing several days later? That was a advertisement for the views of Charles Murray. Good job. Okay? So let me ask you this, Mr. Brooks. Where actually do you stand? Sam's Bulldog getting frustrated with wannabe intellectuals.